Robert Bushnell. Ryan was born on November 11, 1909 in Chicago, Illinois, into a relatively comfortable household shaped by discipline and opportunity. His father was a successful builder, and young Ryan benefited from a stable upbringing that emphasized education and responsibility. He attended Dartmouth College, where he stood out not only academically but athletically, excelling in boxing, a sport that would later lend physical credibility and emotional truth to many of his screen roles. Graduating in 1932 with a degree in English, Ryan did not move directly into acting. Instead, he worked a range of physically demanding jobs, from ranch hand to laborer, experiences that grounded him in the realities of working-class life. These early years instilled humility, resilience, and a deep respect for effort, qualities that would later define both his performances and his off-screen character. Craft forged through discipline. Ryan's transition into acting was slow and deliberate, driven by passion rather than ambition. He trained at the Max Reinhardt Workshop in Hollywood, where he developed a classical, disciplined approach to performance rooted in theater tradition. Ryan believed acting was a serious craft, one that demanded preparation, introspection, and respect for text and character. His early film roles in the 1940s were modest, but they revealed an intensity that set him apart. He was not conventionally glamorous, yet his presence commanded attention. Recognition came with Crossfire in 1947, where he portrayed a deeply flawed and hateful character with unflinching honesty. The role earned him an Academy Award nomination and established him as an actor unafraid to confront uncomfortable truths. Ryan embraced complexity, even when it risked public misunderstanding or professional limitation. A villain on screen, a conscience in life. Despite being frequently cast as villains or morally troubled men, Robert Ryan was the opposite in real life. He was deeply principled, introspective, and politically engaged, holding progressive views during an era when such positions could be dangerous in Hollywood. Ryan openly supported civil rights, opposed racial discrimination, and spoke out against the House Un-American Activities Committee at the height of McCarthyism. These convictions were not performative. They shaped his choices and his friendships. He accepted roles that examined injustice, hypocrisy, and moral responsibility, often using his characters to critique the very systems that rewarded him. Ryan understood the irony of playing hateful figures while advocating compassion off-screen, but he believed art should expose darkness to encourage change. This moral seriousness earned him respect among peers, even when it complicated his career. A career defined by depth, not comfort. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, Ryan built one of the most intellectually rigorous filmographies of his generation. In The Setup, 1949, he delivered a haunting performance as an aging boxer confronting failure and immortality, drawing directly from his own boxing background. Films like Bad Day at Black Rock, Odds Against Tomorrow, and Billy Budd allowed him to explore themes of racism, justice, and moral conflict with rare emotional precision. Even in westerns, such as The Naked Spur and later The Wild Bunch, Ryan brought vulnerability and ambiguity to genres often defined by simplicity. He resisted easy heroism, favoring characters shaped by contradiction. His performances challenged audiences to empathize with discomfort, proving that depth, not likability, was his true strength. Devotion to theater and the purity of performance. While Ryan achieved significant success in film, theater remained central to his artistic identity. He viewed the stage as a purer form of expression, one that demanded full emotional presence and offered immediate truth. His Broadway appearances, particularly in Long Day's Journey into Night, showcased his range and reaffirmed his commitment to serious drama. Ryan often returned to theater between film projects, even when it meant less money or visibility. His final performance in The Iceman Cometh was especially poignant. Battling terminal cancer in private, Ryan gave a raw, restrained portrayal of a haunted idealist embodying loss, regret, and resilience. That he chose to work through illness reflected not obligation, but devotion. For Ryan, acting was never a means to fame. It was a responsibility to honesty, marriage, family, and shared ideals. In 1939, Robert Ryan married Jessica Cadwallader, a woman whose intellect and progressive values mirrored his own. Their marriage was a partnership rooted in shared purpose rather than celebrity. Together, they raised 3 children in an environment that valued education, critical thinking, and social responsibility. their son Cheney would go on to become a respected academic and philosopher, reflecting the household's emphasis on ethics and inquiry. The Ryans lived for many years at the Dakota in New York City, immersed in cultural and intellectual life, before eventually selling the apartment to John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Beyond family life, Robert and Jessica were active in educational reform, helping to establish the Oakwood School in Los Angeles, an institution built on creativity and emotional development. Their life together reflected consistency between belief and action. An ideological clash, not a personal war, Robert Ryan is often remembered for his profound professional tension with Robert Mitchum, another towering figure of classic Hollywood masculinity. Though later framed as hatred, their conflict was fundamentally ideological rather than personal. Ryan approached acting, politics, and life with seriousness and moral obligation. Mitchum embodied irreverence, detachment, and a casual relationship with both craft and authority. When they worked together, particularly on The Racket, 1951, these differences became evident. Ryan was frustrated by what he perceived as a lack of discipline, while Mitchum bristled at Ryan's earnestness. Neither man sought public confrontation, but their mutual irritation was quietly understood on set. It was a collision of world views, commitment versus nonchalance, belief versus skepticism, gravity versus irony. Two visions of masculinity. The contrast between Ryan and Mitchum symbolized broader tensions in post-war American culture. Ryan represented the engaged citizen artist, striving to improve the world through conviction and effort. Mitchum represented the weary survivor, skeptical of systems and unconvinced that seriousness led to progress. Audiences admired both, yet they appealed to different instincts. Ryan believed that art carried responsibility, that actors should care deeply about what they portrayed. Mitchum famously treated acting as a job, no more, no less. Their inability to reconcile these views meant mutual respect never fully formed. Still, both remained consummate professionals, completing their work without public scandal. Their distance was cold, restrained, and rooted in principle rather than malice. Final years marked by dignity, Robert Ryan faced his final years with the same quiet strength that defined his life. Diagnosed with lung cancer, he continued to work, choosing purpose over retreat. His last performances carried an added gravity, informed by awareness of mortality. When his wife Jessica passed away in 1972, the loss was devastating, removing not only a partner but a shared moral compass. Yet Ryan persisted, supported by his children and sustained by his belief in meaningful work. He never sought sympathy, rarely spoke of pain, and avoided sentimentality. Colleagues described him as gentle, thoughtful, and unwavering, a man whose inner life was far richer than his public image suggested. Even in decline, he remained focused on gratitude rather than regret. A legacy of integrity and substance. Robert Ryan died on July 11, 1973, at the age of 63, leaving behind a body of work defined by courage, complexity, and conscience. Though often cast as villains, he was remembered by those who knew him as compassionate, principled, and deeply humane. He balanced a demanding career with unwavering adherence to his values, supporting social justice at personal risk and choosing roles that reflected his beliefs. Near the end of his life, Ryan quietly reflected that he had been lucky as hell with his career and family. That simple statement captured his essence. He measured success not by fame, but by integrity. In an industry built on illusion, Robert Ryan's greatest achievement was authenticity, lived fully, thoughtfully, and without compromise.